Today's video is going to be about our upcoming reading circle project. You're going to have 3 books to choose from, and this video is going to introduce you to all of these books with a passage and a really quick description of all of them, so you'll be prepared to pick your books when you come into class. All of these books circle around the Great Depression, and just some quick background, the Great Depression followed the Wall Street crash in 1929, and this plunged millions of Americans into poverty, and this is a theme that you will really see throughout all of these books. The first one I'm going to talk about is Out of the Dust by Karen Hess. This book is about a young girl named Billie Joe growing up in Oklahoma during the Dust Bowl. So all of these dust storms were coming in and devastating her entire community, and especially her father's farm. And her mother dies in a tragic accident where she was present, and she is very injured, but her father and her have a huge rift after this because he will not talk about the incident, and she just feels very alienated. And she's a big piano player, and this injury to her hand really puts a stop to that. And this is about her trying to overcome that situation and try to grow closer to her father again. This is in poetry, and I'll just read a passage so you know what this is structured like. Tested by dust. While we sat, taking our 6 weeks test, the wind rose and the sand blew, right through the cracks in the schoolhouse wall, right through the gaps around the window glass. And by the time the tests were done, each and every one of us was coughing pretty good, and we all needed a bath. I hope we get bonus points for testing in a dust storm. April 1934. I don't want you to be deterred by this structure in poetry. It really makes for a very interesting read. The other book you can read is To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. This is a classic that a lot of you may have already heard of, and this book has very racial themes to it. It's about 2 young children, Jem and Scout, growing up in Alabama in the 1930s. And this is very heavily segregated, and their father is a lawyer in town, and he takes on a very racially charged court case. So this really has a lot to say about growing up, especially in such a difficult time, and being able to see people in a different way rather than this segregated view that's going on at the time. A passage from this book is, had Jem's pants been safely on him, we would not have slept much anyway. Every night sound I heard from my cot on the back porch was magnified threefold. Every scratch of feet on gravel was Boo Radley seeking revenge. Every passing Negro lapping in the night was Boo Radley loose and after us. Insects splashing against the screen were Boo Radley's insane fingers picking the wire to pieces. The Chinaberry trees were malignant, hovering alive. I linger between sleep and wakefulness until I heard Jem murmur. And that's just a little bit about what this book is about. Then finally, one of your choices is No Promises in the Wind by Irene Hunt. This book has a more gritty depiction of the Great Depression than the other 2 because this book involves 3 young boys leaving Chicago to go try to find work somewhere. One of them is leaving his home from a very angry father, and his mother lets him go because she knows she will not be able to feed all of them. And they go across the country illegally jumping on trains, and they end up at a carnival, and this is really just about them trying to find somewhere for themselves in such a hard time, and when they don't have anyone to take care of them because their parents aren't there, and it's really just them, and they're really just kids. And here's a passage from this. The carnival was in wild confusion when I got there. Fire trucks, police cars, and an ambulance were on the grounds, and everywhere there were people with drawn white faces, their eyes reddened by smoke and tears. Half the tents were charred or in ashes. The merry-go-round stood silent in the midst of ruin, some of its gaily painted horses blackened with smoke. The cars that made up the giant caterpillar which so many children had loved were collapsed and smoldering. My piano was a distorted shell, and the dancer's pavilion was gone. Really, all 3 of these books have something to offer, and really, when you look at trying to pick which book you want to read, I want you to think about what you connected the most with, what type of themes seems the most interesting to you, and I want you to challenge yourself. So if you think something like Out of the Dust is really interesting, but the poetry throws you off, I don't want that to deter you, just how I don't want the fact that To Kill a Mockingbird is a classic to deter you. There's really something for everyone in these books, whether you want a theme of family issues, race, or really just trying to get out there in the world on your own. I think there's something in here for everyone. I really hope this video helped you make a better choice with what book you're going to read, and I hope you're prepared to pick when you come to class.